You are now chopping it up with the Nerd Barbershop Podcast.
Thank you.
The summer will be heating up before you know it, but your drinks, they don't have to. You can chill out with The Frozen Pour, an anthology of slushy recipes from author Taryn Williams, available on Lulu.com. The Frozen Pour is your guide to icy, flavorful cocktails that'll turn any moment into a celebration. Whether you're unwinding after a long day or hosting the party of the season, there's a slushy for every occasion. They're simple to make, delicious to sip, and cooler than your average cocktail. Why settle for the ordinary when you can pour frozen perfection? The Frozen Pour, an anthology of slushy recipes from author Taryn Williams, is available right now on Lulu.com. Order your copy today and raise a frosty glass of unforgettable flavors.
We'll do a brand new episode of the Nerd Barbershop Podcast. I'm Taryn Williams. Thank you so much for clicking on this episode of the podcast and hanging out with me for a little bit. So we're going to get right into it. I finally finished watching Ironheart, so I wanted to get my my little review, synopsis, retrospective, if you will, on the show. And I really enjoyed it. 6 episodes is all Disney Plus shows are. And I really enjoyed it. And I also want to talk about some of the controversy and backlash and all the media Ironheart was getting, because I don't know why. I mean, because a lot of people were upset because she was making her own iron suit, and she was black and smart, and it was Disney being woke and Marvel being woke and DEI and blah 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 blah. Very stupid stuff. Before the show even came out, I know because they were early reviews where the show had a 2% or it's the worst Disney Plus show and all this stuff. But as the show finally finished up and been out for a couple of weeks, I think it has an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's actually one of the highest rated Disney Plus shows. A lot of people really enjoyed it. And so it just shows you how a lot of early perception, people just wanted to hate the show just to hate the show because it was a black character. Let's just call a spade a spade. Let's just do that. People, they didn't want to see a black character, and a talented black character, a talented black woman, a talented young black woman on their TV screen as a hero, quote unquote. As a hero, as people were quote unquote calling her a hero with air quotes. And they didn't want to see that. They were calling her a villain. They were saying she's a criminal, even though everybody on the Avengers was a criminal at some point. Everybody, Tony Stark was a criminal. Captain America was a criminal. The whole plot of Civil War was that Cap and his team were criminals because they were going against the Sokovia Accords. So what are we talking about here? So why is she considered a criminal? Because she did some backhanded stuff at MIT to make some extra money. She was selling projects. This is illegal. We go against all school policy and stuff like that. And plagiarism is a big no-no at MIT. And she got caught, and she got expelled. But they're like, she's a criminal. She can't be a hero. She can't be an Avenger. Isn't that the whole hero story? So that's what really kind of blew me the most about seeing people's takes on Ironheart. Was just I'm like, she's this really smart kid who's so smart, so brilliant, but if she thinks she's alone, and she doesn't realize she has the support. And she has people that support her and trust her and will give her tools, but she needs to reach out and ask for help. She doesn't think she has that because she thinks she has to always go it alone, because she's dealing with the death of her stepdad and her best friend that happened when she was really young. I think it was 5 years earlier, or 3 years earlier, prior to the show, where the show takes place, or something like that. So she's dealing with that grief. And I actually was on Facebook. Somebody was commenting in the Facebook group I'm in, and I was like, oh yeah, Disney made it's okay to make a protagonist that nobody cares for and blah blah blah, and she's unrelatable. And I responded dude, she's very relatable if you actually take the time to relate to her. Because he was like, oh yeah, she has this weird obsession with her dead friend. And I'm like, no, that's not a weird obsession with her dead friend. That's grief. That is trauma. She's dealing with that. She hasn't dealt with it. So it comes up all the time because she hasn't actually talked about it with her mom or her best friend or really confronted it. So she's dealing with that throughout the entire show. This is weird seeing people just try again because, I guess because she wasn't, but they could relate to Captain America, who was a soldier at a time who took the ultimate steroid, or, Iron Man, who got hit with shrapnel in the heart and had to make an iron suit with a box of scrap in the middle of the desert. You can relate to those two guys, but you can't relate to a young black girl in Chicago who's brilliant, so brilliant that she doesn't realize that she has a support system because she thinks she has to go in alone because no one understands her. But actually, people do understand her. She just has to open herself up and let people in. But it's something that we all deal with as people in real life. How many of us now are going through things, have big ideas, have big dreams, and you think, oh, no one's going to support me, no one's going to understand me, when there's people that are right in some of your families, some of your best friends, co-workers are rooting for you, but you won't let them root for you because you think they don't understand what you're doing. It's happening right now. We can all probably relate to that. But people weren't trying to relate to it. They just saw, oh, black woman, turn off. Like, what? Come on, y'all. 2025, calm down. And I'm pretty sure, I'll tell my uncle this, Marvel is like an initiative where they were trying to bring more diverse characters to the comics, and I'm pretty sure it was Miles Morales, Kamala Khan, America Chavez, or Riri Williams, like the four like pioneers of that movement for like maybe 10 years ago, I think it was something like that. I could be wrong. Somebody will fact check me eventually, but I think they were like doing like a diverse initiative, like a diversity initiative. I'm pretty sure those four characters were like really, were kind of pushed into like the forefront in comics, to try and get them like to show more diversity in comics. I love Riri. I love that she was from Chicago. Like, cause Chicago gets more love. You know, she's from the South Side of Chicago. Like, just seeing Chicago and the train and the L and some of the stuff, seeing the skyline was so. Cause Chicago does not get a lot of love in comic book movies, which makes me mad. Y'all need like we're used, like Chicago is used, and like the Batman is used as Gotham, quote unquote, but it's not like Chicago proper. You know, even the Batwoman show that I actually did a podcast on. That was on the CW was shot in Chicago, but it was their version of Gotham, quote unquote. But it's never like Chicago proper. So I'm happy Ironheart was Chicago proper. I loved it. I loved just the vibe of the music. This is just her saying like calling her AI head ass was in the first episode had me crying. I'm like, yep, that's the most Chicago shit ever. But I like the show. I didn't think the show was gonna deal with magic as much as it did, which was really really cool. Cause I'm not sure if the comics really deals with magic. She might. I actually haven't read the comics. I don't really know. But I like that quote between that Riri's like the bridge of science and magic, because we all know like Tony Stark was very much against magic. He's like, oh, it could just be this or that, and it's like, no, there's some stuff out there you understand. With Dr. Strange trying to teach him that, but he's like, no, you know, science is science, magic is science that we just haven't understood yet or whatever. And Dr. Strange's like, no, magic is some cool shit. So I'm kind of happy Riri's like the bridge between those two. I love Zelma as a character. Zelma's really cool. I hope we get more Zelma very, very soon. She's a really cool character. But the plot was fine. The story, like, it wasn't the super in-depth, you know, plot, but it was just grief and her trying to figure out how to do her own thing. You know, her dealing with the trauma of her, you know, of her stepdad and her friend, that as I explained before. Trying to get this idea out there that she thinks nobody understand. Trying to create a suit of armor to protect her family, because when they got shot, she felt like she couldn't do anything. You know, I love like her mom telling her, like in the last couple episodes, like, hey, like my job is to protect you. It's not the other way around. Like, I gotta make sure you're safe. You'll make sure I'm safe because I'm your mother. I love that. That was like a really sweet moment. I love that Dominique Thorne, who plays Riri, did a really great job. Like, I really liked her acting. I just love how she portrayed the character. And then she was brilliant. You know. All the little things connecting her to Tony Stark with the iron, of course, with the suits, of course. Also, her actually interacting with Joe, who we find out is Ezekiel Stain. You know, the son of one of Iron Man's biggest villains, like in the first episode, in the first movie, not the first episode, but in the first movie. You know, who actually tried to kill Iron Man, but nobody knows that because he died, and they just think, oh, he died like a hero and a patriot and all this stuff, but he was really a dick. I think Ezekiel kind of knows it to a degree, but he doesn't know everything. But now that, like, you know, Ezekiel, of course, gets ratted out, becomes so like he's a villain. He has all this millions of dollars of like black market weaponry and stuff. And everyone's like, oh, you're gonna ruin your family's name, and your dad tried to run over his grave and blah blah blah, whatever. And I kind of like he's not. He was neutral. He kind of did some villain stuff, so he'll probably be like a tweener. If this was wrestling, he'd be like a tweener. Not really a good guy, not really a bad guy. He probably will like confront Riri here and there, but he probably will also help Riri here and there too, just because he has $1 million for protecting him, so you gotta figure out what to do with it. I like the Hood. I'm not sure if the Hood is in the Riri story. The Hood was kind of a cool character, cool idea. We finally get Mephisto, which is pretty dope. I guess I have to say spoiler alert, but spoiler alert is already going to be in the title of the episode, so whatever. This is a review. You know what it is. Mephisto, that was really... I was so shocked that we wanted to see Mephisto in WandaVision and Multiverse of Madness and Agatha all along, but he shows up in Ironheart, which is so cool. Which is like so random. Like, it's cool and random. Like, wait, what? Why? We get Dormammu's name dropped again, and we get Mephisto, and we get Zelma, who is one of Doctor Strange's like apprentices, I think, in the comics, I believe, as well. So I was not expecting Ironheart to be so magic focused, but it was kind of cool that it is. And we're getting a lot of more magical properties in the MCU with, of course, like I said, like, WandaVision, Multiverse of Madness, Multiverse of Madness, Agatha all along. We'll probably get some more stuff with with Wiccan and stuff like that. Like, there's gonna be more stuff with magic, which is really cool that Marvel's kind of tapping into that side of the comic book, because there's a lot of like crazy stuff that could happen. I do want to see Dormammu like on live screen, because I think that'd be cool. We saw him in like the first Doctor Strange movie, but seeing him like getting active would be really dope. But seeing Mephisto was really, really cool, really dope. I really like that, because I kind of knew Mephisto was in it, because I saw spoilers like before I finished the show, but it's fine. It's still cool. It's still cool to see. But yeah, like I like her suits. I like that she actually blew up 2 suits. And then I like the switch with the second suit where she had like, she's fighting the Hood. She has like an emergency protocol where it blows up, but it doesn't really blow up. It's actually a hologram. I thought that was a good like twist for the audience. I was like, wait, she blew up another suit, but it's just a hologram. Oh, that's kind of dope. I think Natalie stole the show. Her AI was so good. Such a cool character. Such a cool idea. Because in the comics, Tony is actually her AI. He's like, it's like his conscience that gets turned into an AI, and they actually give it to her. And so her suit in the comics is Tony Stark. So they might actually, I wonder if they're gonna do that later on, since in the show, of course, Natalie gets deleted, the AI, so she doesn't have Ruby doesn't have AI anymore. So I wonder if they're gonna maybe incorporate Tony into that. Maybe we'll see what happens. That'd be kind of cool. I'm also curious about the post-credit scene, because we see not the post-credit scene, but like at the end, well, not the post-credit scene, but at the end of the show, where we talking to Mephisto, they're trying to make a deal, and this and that and the third. And we kind of see they keep like cross-fading it between the conversation and Riri like working on the suit and stuff, and she sees Natalie, and she thinks it's AI Natalie, but it's actually real like Natalie, like blood and in front of her, like physical Natalie. And she's like, oh my god, give her a hug. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? But I'm really curious, was that our Riri from our universe that we've been watching? But the reason why I'm curious about that is because of her hair. Because in the entire show, she's had braids. Like, she might have like some other stuff, but her hair's been braided for the most part. And then at that scene, her hair's more of a fro, like it's more blown out. I'm like, we haven't seen her like that. At any point in the show, her hair's always been braided. And so I was curious, is that like Riri that we've seen, or is that another Riri from a different multiverse who does, because again, Secret Wars is coming, and this is like another Riri who actually would accept Mephisto's deal and got Natalie back, whereas our Riri didn't do it. They kind of left it kind of open-ended, so we won't know until somewhere in the future. And of course, for the post-credit scene, we saw Parker go to the shop and ask Zelma for help with magic. I'm really curious about that, like what they're going to do with that. I'm very curious to see what shenanigans they're going to get into. And I like Parker, the Hood's character. Like, I like the idea. I kind of like what he could do. Again, just being, I think just the guy that had a hood. He doesn't have the hood anymore since Riri took it. But so I'm curious what he's going to do, like what he'll become and how he'll become an asset or an adversary in the future. I'm very curious about that. But Ironheart was really a lot about just grief and growing and finally asking for help and just kind of understanding everything. It was just kind of like, it was like two sides of the coin, where Riri never asked for help and she kind of did it on her own, while Parker, he asked for bad help, and of course he got Mephisto, got the hood, created the crew. I like the crew. I just hope they were actually really good characters, and kind of really good to see them really understand like Parker was tripping towards the end, like, oh yeah, we're misfits, we're bad guys, but we're not murderers, we're not, we do some dirty stuff, but like, come on, we're not gonna kill one of our own. I like that duality of them. It was nice to show that they were human, while Parker was just losing his mind. And then Riri, on the other hand, didn't ask for help. She got help from her friends. And she did it from her. She finally opened up to her mom. Her mom helped her. She finally talked to Xavier. She got help from Zelma. Like, she finally got help from the people in her life that were already there. And they turned and they made the new suit, and they got it. They got it up and running. So it was a really fun show. I really enjoyed it. I definitely say watch it, like enjoy it. You know, a little black girl magic in your life will never hurt anybody. And I'm curious to see what they're gonna do with Riri next. I'm very curious to see where does she go next. Like, what is her next journey? I mean, she's gonna be a young Avenger. That's kind of pretty obvious. She's gonna be a young Avenger. I'm curious if, like, you know, Kamala will recruit her, or if dang it, and I gotta get her name now. But I'm curious to see if Hawkeye's protege, whose name is now, I'm losing my mind because I can't think of her name. But yeah, my brain's saying Cassie Lane, but no, not Cassie. Cassie, that's a completely different character. You know what I'm gonna say Hawkeye. I'm gonna say girl Hawkeye because I know I have her name, but I cannot think of her name right now. It's blowing my mind. But anyway, I wonder if they're gonna like recruit her, since Kamala recruited her. So I'm curious if they're gonna add some people to the fold. And Riri's gonna be a young Avenger. You can see it. You can tell she'll be the engineer for the group. So I'm very curious to see, like, again, like, what's gonna be next year, and what would be like the Young Avengers' first actual mission. That would be really cool. So I think they're kind of doing that together. They're setting up Secret Wars, setting up other stuff, but also setting up the Young Avengers too. They're setting up, and of course, X-Men, because like Secret Wars, X-Men, and the Young Avengers are all kind of being set up simultaneously, and maybe even Midnight Suns. I think they're kind of up next too, with hopefully Blade coming out. Maybe, I don't know when, but they're kind of setting it up too. There's a couple of things that are like cooking in the pipeline for Marvel. I'm really curious. But thank you so much for listening to my review of Ironheart. Go check it out. Really fun, really different. Just kind of a different take on the whole Iron Suit storyline with Riri Williams holding it down. I kind of would love if they do Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. That'd be sick. But in live action would be wild. I actually got finished the Disney show, but I got finished that on Disney Plus. But that's another conversation. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. As I said, I greatly appreciate it. I'm gonna try to get some more podcasts up really soon. I'm trying to get some more just stuff up in general for the YouTube channel. I gotta get some food videos done as well. It's a process, but I'm gonna get a schedule eventually. I'm gonna work it all out. I'm gonna start cranking things out on a more consistent basis, hopefully really soon. So stay with me, stay locked in. I greatly appreciate it. Again, thank you for listening to this podcast wherever you listen to it. If you listen to it on Spotify or some of the other platforms, I greatly appreciate it. Also, I have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Digital Chef Armada, I believe, is the Patreon. It's $5. It'll be $5 forever. I won't change the price. Just to kind of just help me, generate some more income, and how I'm putting some stuff up there. I'm still working it out. I'm still getting some new stuff out there. But the podcast will go on the Patreon first. Then a couple of days later, it'll go to all the other platforms. So I'm trying to keep that going, keep that routine as consistent as possible. Of course, I might forget, as I have done in the past. So bear with me. But yeah, so there's a Patreon, patreon.com/Digital Chef Armada. I greatly appreciate it. Again, you don't have to. It's optional. You don't have to do it. But if you do it, I greatly appreciate it. I'm going to try and fill it out with some other stuff. Fill it out with early editions of the podcast. Maybe I'll put some other videos up that won't go on the YouTube channel. I have my food blog up there. My food blog called The Pantry is up there right now. My video game blog where I talk about some of my favorite games of all time is up there. I think I'm going to put my food reviews on there as well. Just another little caveat. So if you want to see some of my food reviews of places I've been to in the city of Chicago, or places I've been to maybe around the country as I travel a little bit more. Hopefully, fingers crossed, God willing. I travel a little bit more. Maybe I'll put my food reviews up on the Patreon as well. So there'll be some fun stuff in the works. But stay locked in. I greatly appreciate it. All the forever, slicing, dicing, gaming. Not just a model, it's lifestyle. I'll see you next podcast. Later.